Howdy there, YouTube. I got a question for you. What is the most painful thing that you've ever experienced? I've been dealing with some health issues lately, and it made me think about, well, my most painful experience. So, around a year ago now, I started having a lot of trouble around pissing, like a lot of pain and discomfort, and just generally struggling to pee. So, I went to a urologist to try to get an answer. So I go there, they have me pee in a cup, and then they do an ultrasound on my bladder, discover I'm not pregnant or whatever, and then decide that the only other thing that they could do is basically finger my ass. So the doctor, she has me pull my pants down and then brings in a nurse for some reason, like we need a spectator for this, like it's some sort of spectacle. And if any of you guys out there have ever been unfortunate enough to have had this procedure done, let me tell you, they do not give you a 1, 2, 3 go. They don't give you a heads up. She just lubes her fingers and just. So this woman is digging around in there like the Hellraiser puzzle is in my ass, and the only way to save the universe is to give me this bussological exam. So after what felt like half an hour, she pops her fingers out of my ass, and I swear to God, you can't make this up. All she did was just go, alright, and then threw her gloves down in the trash can, and then just left. Her and the nurse just left. So they just left me there with a lubed up ass crack, feeling different than before, and I have to just waddle over to the table to get some, paper towels and tissues and clean my ass. So after a few minutes of me sitting in that office room just rethinking all my life decisions, she finally comes in and tells me, "Hey, nothing seems to be wrong with your prostate. Everything seems normal." So the only other thing we could do is do what's called a cytoscopy. And if you don't know what a cytoscopy is, allow me to educate you. A cytoscopy is a procedure in which they take your wiener and then they take a really long camera and they shove it down in your dick hole to examine your urethra to see if you have like blockage and to get a better look at your prostate to see if there's anything else going on. Armed with that knowledge, I became terrified. I'm not into sounding, call me crazy, I'm not hip like the other young folk, but I don't really like the idea of shoving things down my cock. So, when that wonderful day comes around, I make them give me something for anxiety because I tell them if they don't, they're going to have to bolt me down to that table. But anyway, they give me something for anxiety, and I have to say, it didn't do fucking anything. I was still petrified and shaking going into the exam room, which, by the way, like that episode of SpongeBob where like the entire world is chrome? It was like that, but just stainless steel. No color, no warmth. It smelled just like lube and that general hospital smell. Like, at least put a fucking lava lamp or something. Add a little bit of color to the room. So once again, the doctor has me drop my britches and puts me on a flat table and puts my legs up on these stirrups like I'm, giving birth. They leave me there for a few minutes, come back in the room, and then the nurse has like this giant needle full of what looks like Elmer's glue and then grabs my dick and then just puts it in the head and just squirts all this glue in my penis. And surprisingly, it wasn't really uncomfortable. Like, it didn't hurt. I expected a lot more discomfort. It didn't feel good, but I was worried for nothing about it, I guess. Essentially what this was is like a lubricant, and it was also meant to numb the area. So after they squirt all that glue down my pee-pee, they also like clamp my wiener, and the nurse explained that it's to keep the glue from coming back out, which again surprisingly wasn't super painful because one part of my dick was just like roller pinned flat by this clamp, but surprisingly it didn't hurt. I don't know if it was the Elmer's glue or if it was just I don't know what it was. It was one of the saddest sights I've ever seen. My cock and balls have never looked so sad, so tiny, and so pathetic. I'm a grower, not a shower, and in this moment, my penis was almost non-existent. I'm surprised that they had anything to clamp onto. If it wasn't for the clamp, my penis probably would have shriveled back up in my body. And after an uncomfortably long time, the doctor finally comes in the room with his camera, and I'm looking at the diameter of this camera and the diameter of my dick, and I'm like, there's gonna be a problem here. There's gonna be some resistance. I don't know how he's gonna jam this thing down in there. I swear it was like twice the size of my penis. And I don't know if that means that my penis is super small or the camera is super huge, but none of that really matters to me. What matters to me is I'm bracing for the unknown. I have no idea how this is going to feel, but I imagine it's not going to feel very good. So the doctor declamps my cock, grabs his camera, and begins his descent. Now, as he's worming his way in there, he gets about halfway down, and I'm sweating bullets. I'm petrified at this. But once he reaches that halfway point, I breathe a sigh of relief because I'm like, wow, this it's a little uncomfortable, but there's no pain. I just had this feeling wash over me of, oh my God, this just relief. Like I was just worried over nothing. This is not going to be so bad. But then he goes the rest of the way down. That experience, I can't even put it into words. I wish I could convey it to you, but no amount of words in the English language could do justice to what I experienced. It was the most pinching, pulling, ripping, searing, tearing sensation I've ever felt in my life. And it's just like in the pit of all throughout my dick and in the pit of my stomach. Like I felt like, you know how whenever they mummify somebody and they have that tool, they stick it up the person's nose and they scramble their brains to pull it back out through the nose. That's what this man was doing to my prostate. He was scrambling my prostate. He was scrambling it like he just watched a marathon of MasterChef. Like he was just really fucking getting in there. And naturally, I began screaming at the top of my lungs. I have never screamed so loudly or so high pitch. Like you would think that someone was dying. You would think that someone was dying. And I felt, in that moment, you could have convinced me that I was. Oh, and what made the experience way more fun is that the doctor explained to me that my prostate had clamped down on the device. So, him pulling it out wasn't as easy as it was going in because now my prostate and my cock are holding on to this out of pure spite for what this doctor is doing to me. And the whole time during this, I'm just wishing that they had something in the room to distract you, like an iPad on the ceiling with Subway Surfers, just something to get me out of my brain. So anyway, the doctor wiggles that thing out of there and sends me back to a waiting room. And when I'm in the waiting room, I am clutching my dick. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that I'm in tears. I am crying so hard because the pain is so intense and I was just violated. The doctor comes in the room and is like, well, everything appears to be normal. Nothing seems to be wrong with your dick whatsoever. So I can't even tell you where your problem is coming from, but the best of luck to you. And you know what? By the way, I'm sorry that we gave you a little bit of discomfort. A little discomfort, my ass. You just assaulted me with that thing. So at the end of the day, I didn't get any resolution to my problem that I was having. If anything, it made it worse because now I was just bleeding out of my dick for the next 2 weeks every time I went to piss. I've been in a car accident before. I've had multiple broken bones. I had a surgery that was pretty painful, and none of that compares to having my cock stretched out by that doctor. The moral of the story is, if you're having some trouble peeing, go to a urologist. But if they offer the cytoscope as an option, maybe just ask them if there's some other options first before you end up doing that. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you did, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in another one.